And it's all out. Now, just in case any of you were thinking, what'd you do that for, you mad bastard? Here it is. Right, so this is the piece I've chopped out. And you can see a bit more clearly now the level of pitting along this surface. And that, you know, to make localised repairs there and there, and there, and there, and there, and here, and here. We might as well see if we can't just replace the entire thing, or weld this back together into this sort of shape on the bench and see where we go. Probably inclined just to replace it in its entirety. Now, the other slightly disturbing thing is, while I was in here, I was looking at the top of the bulkhead over here and seeing, oh, that looks a bit double skinned up there, doesn't it? Oh dear, what's going on up there? Yes, so I'll pop round the other side and tapped it. Yeah. So all the way along here as well, that hole there. Oh, for fuck's sake. Where do I go with this? Do I replace this entire footwell, or do I patch it top and bottom? Trouble is, patch is the wrong word. Do I splice metal in top and bottom, or do I replace it in its entirety? There's probably not a lot of difference in the workload. I'm probably going to head down the line of splicing top and bottom, because the bottom section now is rot free, and I've got a piece that I'm ready to put in, and when I get all the electrics down from the top I can deal with that up there then. I've got other areas up here that need to be addressed as well, so I'm probably going to keep the original footwell on the basis that it's in place, it's aligned, it fits, it works, and work with my repair panel, I think. Lower section of the footwell welded in nicely, obviously welded up against the lower section of the bulkhead side, in line with the remainder of the footwell like it would have been originally. So that now is more or less back to a factory line. Appreciate it's got a bloody great big load of welding on it. I have welded both sides. So they're welded on the outside and the inside, looking nice. Happy enough with that. That's more or less the lower part of the bulkhead done. Now, next up, I was going to look at this panel, the piece I chopped out. I salvaged the clip off it, largely because there's not a lot wrong with it, and you know, if I could salvage that with 2.5 minutes worth of drill, it saves me a shitload of time on making it up again, doesn't it? Yes, I think is the answer there. Right, so now what I need to do is to make that shape. I can weld in tomorrow morning, but I'm going to start now, I think. Nice big sheet of, I think this is 20 gauge. Probably that edge there, it looks like 20 gauge. Where's my little gauge? There we are. Is it going to be 20? It is 20 gauge. Okay, nice snug fit for 20 gauge setting. So I'll do like for like. There's no point me welding 18 gauge in there, otherwise I'll end up blowing holes through what remains on the 20 gauge. So like for like on that, and that can go back in again. I'm going to need to put something around the exhaust hanger, which is about there, and also there's some wires here. So I'll put one of the fire blankets over the top of everything. Make sure that we're not going to cause any issues, but that'll be a tomorrow job. And then once I've done all of this lot, then I can drop all the electrics down. Oh, for fuck's sake! Start again at the top. Oh yes, you're what caused it all. Okay, finished down here. airbag out next. So there's 4 fixings. Access from underneath. 1, 2, 3 and 4 right there. So they look like that on the underside. They are these funny star-shaped things, whatever that is. That is a an E10 fixing, six-sided star fixing, and that's those 4. That then lifts straight up and off. Now I'm looking next to find out how I can get back here to loosen off this electrics, and I think what I'm really going to need to do is just drop the heater blower out of the way. So that looks fairly straightforward. There's a few fixings down there I can see, and then there's a load more on the outside up here. I move my Mac Tools magazine. We've got fixings around here and fixings on the unit itself. So I think I'm going to, that's bloody got full of fucking screen wash fluid. Good work, Richard. I'm going to undo these fixings and see if I can get that heater unit out. It looks fairly straightforward. There's a few clips holding the loom, because that's the connector there for the airbag. So there's a number of clips. The battery is disconnected at the moment, and I won't reconnect before I've reconnected that. Yeah. It's turning out to be a bit of a ball's ache. There's captive nuts, or captive bolts, inside the plastic housing. And because these things have rusted, there's 2 bolts here I cannot get out. I've tried everything, and you can see the tail end of the fixing just down there. Cannot get to it. I'll have to Dremel those off, put a piece of stuff over the windscreen just so I don't make a mess. And then on the inside, I've removed all of the bracketry that held the airbag up. I've removed the bracket that supports the heater box. So I think once I've undone those last 2 bolts, I think we should be pretty much about there. I mean, it does look like it wants to come down now. I couldn't tell you, in fact. It's weird, isn't it? I don't know how the bloody heater unit is trapped in there, if I'm honest. Oh, there's another fixing down here, look. There's a fixing down there. Ah. That one needs to come off. Yeah, learning new stuff all day long here. Well, this is turning out to be fun. Not. First and foremost, you don't need to undo these bolts at the top in order to get the heater unit out. The top edge of that fits in underneath this, so don't worry about that. What you will need to do is loosen the bracket on the side of the dash here, and also the bracket over there, because you need to be able to manipulate the dash out. You also need to undo the nut which drops that relay panel down, and then with a little bit of wiggling you can get the unit out. Now, next thing I'm looking at is, I'm going to cut that zip tie there. You can't see, going to cut that zip tie there, and there's a couple of bolts that hold this entire bracket, it looks like, against the bulkhead. Over here you can see there is a fair amount of rot on the inside here, and I think if we're taking this apart we need to do this. I don't know where we're going to go with it. There's lots of clips and things up here. I'm not videoing it because otherwise it's going to take me 3 times as bloody long. But with the airbag out and with the heater unit out, I can see a lot more. But yes, you can take the heater blower unit out without destroying the entire car. Now, what's interesting about this is the foam on this has completely gone. So what I might do is, while it's apart, I might refoam this heater unit. It's just disintegrated on the inside here. It's like that. It looks like a fucking great big blower there, and some basic mechanisms. I'll go over that. But if I just tip this upside down now, look at the foam just coming out, and that's all the shit that you're going to be breathing in, isn't it? Yes, Richard. Yes, it is. Right, you behave over there. I'm going to get these bolts out, and I'm going to see where we go to with it. Okay, loom is all out. There's a few bolts along the base of the, I guess, the box along the bulkhead. I'll show you on the other side in a second, which you need to remove. Now that's all out, you can start to see that it probably was quite a good idea really to do this. You can see how the rot there has started to creep up at the top edge of the footwell. Yes, so we're going to continue our repairs now towards the top end. What I've really done on the driver's side, the loom obviously runs right the way down here. It includes the main electrics for the engine, the airbag sensor I've just literally just disconnected and moved out of the way. Lights and everything's all now gone into the footwell, and we're left with this kind of mess down here. Right, so where do we go from here? Not entirely sure. I'm going to carry on tidying up, and then I think I might need to get in here, because you can see down here already. Let's get the probe of probeness. That will do. So we're not going to go particularly berserk here, but what I want to do is just demonstrate to you how this seam sealer now does more damage than good. Probably could have got a bigger probe really, couldn't you, Richard? So that's coming up, and underneath it is just all rust. And again, here, rust, and here, it's just all rust. So the seam sealer all needs really to come out, which is what I'm going to start digging out. And you can see there, underneath that seam sealer surface, rust. I'm pondering as to whether this box needs to unbolt. I've only really got 2 more bolts on the inside on each of the corners. You notice these are a completely different shape to the hard dash versions. And then undo these bolts along the top here, and I should be able to slip this out and pass the brake lines without disturbing them. Just got a Tyrannosaurus or something moving over there just when I start filming. Cheers, Ben. I'm not quite sure how much we're going to end up surviving down here. So, I can see the lid, which is good. So what I might end up doing here, because I've got a feeling that once I undo this spot weld along here and destroy the L section that is underneath here, this piece here, the rot's going to go right up behind that, and you can see the screwdriver lights disappearing in there. There's another hole there, look at that, in various places. Yeah, I think we're going to start pulling things apart. If we're going to do this, then what I might be inclined to do, because obviously we need to replace a sizable chunk of this up here, let's say, that goes off to the edge. I don't know. Let me get it cleaned up. Put my hat hard on back on. Get it cleaned up, and then we can see what's going on in here. There is a little bit more surface rust in here than I was anticipating, but salvageable. Now on the inside of this panel here, I'm actually more inclined now to bang all of this rot away completely. You can see where it's held on with a spot weld there and there and there. So if I drill these spot welds out along the top rail of the inner wing, do the same thing underneath, and I should be able to bang this rusty panel out of the way. And you can see how compromised that is, and that's the original bit of steel that would have gone up here, all the remains of. And the main reason for taking this box out here is so I can address the corrosion along the top here. Now that hole there is just quite close to it, but we might get away without taking that box out. I don't know. If we can avoid that, then I'd like to do that. I'm going to work down at this edge first of all. But now all the electrics and everything are out of the way, it's worth that bit of extra effort just to kind of protect the electrics, the car and so forth. Just got to remember where they all bloody go. Now interestingly, you end up with a whole load of stickers over the holes. Oh. There's a hole there, hole there, hole there, And these are all mount holes for various different options, thousands of them. And as you can see, every single one of these bloody mount holes, there's going to be elements of corrosion around it. So I might need to just grit blast this whole inner wing back where I can see it and paint it, because at the moment I believe it's savable. Most of this leading is down here. Headlight box, there's only a localised area down there, and there's a localised area down there as well. I don't know. Really don't. We didn't put up a whole lot of resistance. The angled bracket remains of is there. Okay, so that went along up there. There was one tag of weld on it. Sorry, two tags of weld, one there, one in the middle. But as I was taking it off, the metal behind it was just crumbling away. And if you remember looking on the inside, there was a double skinned bit where the footwell had rotted away, but it wasn't holed. Well, that was kind of there, sorry for the flickering, that was there, and it was because it was the back edge of that bracket. Now, as you can see, the rot here goes across to the edge, right away across. So what I've basically done, by taking that L section out, I can now weld from here straight down, and then put another bracket on it, and then attach the inner wing to it. And then I got a bit berserk, really. I went a bit nuts trying to sort out this mess here. And you can see how much rust there is behind that. Not uncommon, I'm afraid, folks. And it is getting to the point where I've probably got 4 spot welds down there that allow me to pull this wing further away in order that I can effect this repair. Just chopped it through up there. That's dead easy because I can butt weld that straight back up. But with this moved over a little bit, it's going to make my life a little bit easier. So the trick then, and I lost my spot weld drilled when I was banging, but never mind, it will turn up, is to find the spot welds down here and drill those. And then I should be able to kind of more or less move the wing. I mean, to be honest, basically, to be honest, I can do this without actually taking that weld out. But I do have problems with the up and over section on this wing, which is why I started drilling these spot welds here to see whether we just actually, just bear in mind all of this shite here. I need a conversation with the customer. That inner wing isn't quite as pretty as the other one, and this one's no oil painting, I'll be honest, but it does appear to have similar levels of corrosion along the top edge. I might have a chat with the customer, because for the sake of unbolting the oil cooler, and no, because we've got this bottom section down here, all this needs to come out as well, doesn't it? Well, that's got to come out anyway, because I've got new diagonal parts to put in there. I'm thinking out loud is what I'm doing, and it's not very useful for you, but this is kind of the aggravation you're going to face when you pick up a project like this, is, oh shit, you know, oh god, I wish oh bloody, yeah, rusty Range Rovers. At least I know what I'm going to do with the bulkhead side piece now, but whether I need to fix these bits and these bits before the bulkhead side panel or not is kind of where I'm thinking at the moment. I suspect I will. This piece down here, relatively straightforward, it's more or less a flat piece of steel that goes in, and I'll weld it along the top edge up here, and I'll weld it along the bottom edge, and then put the bracket on again in place so it can support the trailing edge of the inner wing. What's actually holding this inner wing in place now? We've got this chappy, which I can just unbolt there. That can go over there. We've got the horns, we've got the airbag sensor, and then we've got spot welds along here. Spot welds down there, and bolts. Pretty much it really, isn't it? pretty much it at that point. If it was on the floor, could I repair it any easier? If I am going to take the inner wing off completely, then of course then the brakes will need to be drained down. This one's got, I just noticed it's got traction control on it as well. Look at that. That's the traction control modulator. Very SE stuff. Very nice. I think we need to see what we can repair in situ, because otherwise this job is just turning into a waste down restoration, isn't it? And most of that there that I'm going to repair up here is going to be hidden by the washer bottle. So what I might do is find the spot welds and take the spot welds out along the up and over section. Might just be easier doing it that way, I don't know. Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes in the up and over. Let me see what happens when I find the spot welds down here, because I need to think of something. Something needs to happen. Well, deliberated with the customer, and I think the thing is that this really, I could splice steel back in, cut the rust out, splice steel back in, and we're still going to have problems like this. So this is right on the edge. So I could tidy this up, tidy up the headlight box, etc., 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 and it might last another 3 or 4 years. Or we could replace it. And the customer's gone down the, oh, sod it, let's replace it. So I'm going to take this inner wing off now. The brakes will need to be bled down, but not a horrendous issue. There's been no pressure in that. So I shall drain the brakes down and start undoing all the spot welds on this. But yes, there's not a lot I could say really, is there? I'm a little bit disappointed, really, that it kind of, the project got down to this. But it is what it is. And I think when this side is done, well, it should be good for another, well, bearing in mind this car's what, 94, so yeah, 29 years it's lasted. And I don't think this has been apart before. I think someone's been in behind the dash before, but I don't think anyone's done any welding on this thing at all in its entire life. So to have got this far is pretty impressive. And like I say, the inner wing is right on the edge of really economical repair, and even if it was economical repair, it's still an old inner wing. So the brake rigid hoses are undone. They have been done fairly recently, so I didn't have too many challenges there, but obviously just draining the brake fluid down. Drilled spot welds along the slam panel, undid the 2 mountings. I didn't know if you knew you could do this, but basically when you undo the 2 mountings on the gearbox oil cooler, you can just pivot it around. There's enough room there. So then that gave me access to drill these holes here, remove the stay bars that support the slam panel, and obviously of course the plastic tray that sits underneath the aircon fans. And there was one spot weld just at the back there which I had to bang through with a chisel, which is why there's a bit of rust kicking around down here, which I guess emphasises the reason why we want to do this. Right, now in theory I should just be able to lift this thing off now. I think I can. Look at that. Right, this is in the way because this is sitting on the radiator still, so we'll take that off. Might have to just zip tie that up there because I don't want all the power steering fluid to leak out. But now this should come off, and it does. Look at that. Oh lordy. And what's happened here was that's done exactly what I thought it was going to do. So one-handed, Richard, I'm going to remove this inner wing. there we are. Now, I'll just put those down there so it drains down. The main reason behind doing this was because the inner wing was kind of a little bit past it. But what kind of led towards this decision was that with the inner wing out of the way, the bulkhead repairs are so much easier. And I can tidy up all these bits and bobs up here. I can also assess whether this thing is actually past it or not. Because with it off the car, and as intact as I can get it, basically cut it off along the original spot welds and so forth, I might be able to repair it, we'll see. So I'm going to have a cup of tea now while that brake fluid's draining down, and there is my spot weld drill that I was looking for yesterday. Good boy. Oh, I'm pleased I found that. I can go up there. Right. So now you can see the axis here. Look at it. That's quite a lot of damage really been caused by the sunroof drain here. But at least now I can address all of this shite here and also effect a really good repair there as well. And while I'm in there, I can get the wire brush basically around the bulkhead mounting, just tidy that all up, tidy it on the top edge. And there you go. Looks a bit dramatic, but to be honest, it isn't really. Well, it is and it isn't. So what I've basically done here is lower line, cut along where the rot was. That was that bit. Upper section chopped out as one big lump. That's just the blank plate there. Interestingly, the bulkhead side panel, from that spot weld there down to this spot weld here, there's nothing. It's not going to slow the ingress of water, is it? No, 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 no. Now, what I then found is this piece I chopped off, but that's going to get welded back on. This is a reinforcing plate which goes in here, like that. But you can see the surface is quite corroded. So I'm going to clean that up, treat it, paint it, weld it back in again. The rest of that piece is here. Now, this is where it starts to make a bit more sense, to me anyway. So effectively, what I've done is chopped that out in its entirety. Boom. So I can make up either a replica of that or re-weld this. Big chunks of it are all right, but if I weld it on the bench, then there's a better chance of me making the repair seamless, isn't there? I'm guessing. It might end up just being a complete new section. I don't know. We'll see how it responds really when I start attacking the rust. As you can see, some of this rust really is rust. What's left on now is largely intact. So I think now, having got that piece out, I can see where the enemy is. So that bit, really, in its entirety, back in, butt it up to to the top edge of the footwell down there, and I think we're going to be in a far, far better place. Then just treat all of this surface rust that's all over the place. Now, there's another piece down here which I chopped off. So this piece here actually came from there. That was the bit that was covered up by the rail on the inner wing, and you can see that that probably was quite a wise decision to chop that out, because all that was going to happen really, unless I put a really heavy duty seam sealer along the top edge of the inner wing, thereby trapping more water in, the sunroof was just going to drain in and through these holes here. I don't know if you can see the holes. Can you see the holes? You should be able to see the holes there. There's quite a few on there. Quite a few holes on that piece. And that's not just because I've been percussing it, that's just because that's how it come off. So, right, I'm going to get on now with cleaning up various parts, tidying bits up, take this remains of this body sealant out up here while the box is out, and treat the rust up there as well. And I think, yes, probably best not to think really, isn't it? it probably is best not to think. It's time to get this thing back together again. So what I've done is I've taken that reinforcing frame, treated the rust, just primed the surface, and I'm going to weld the reinforcing frame back into one piece. This is why I've bolted the remains of the outer section back in place again. Once the frame's back in place, then I can start messing around with the repair section I've made to the top edge, which looks a little bit like that. I need to drill a couple of holes in it and just double check the alignment and so forth, but I wanted to weld that frame first and foremost because it concerns. So I got one weld right down there and I got one weld right up here. Dead easy that, isn't it? And then we can start popping it all back together, which would be nice. Oh yes. Right, all welded in, happy with that. Tidied up the welds as I was going along. Yeah, I'm happy enough with that. Once that's painted and seam sealed, great. Then I got the original panel here that went on the bottom edge of that, chopped the rusty section out, and then made up a single panel. So the bottom edge of that panel had this piece on it, which I kind of wanted, but it was just a bit too shonky, so chopped that out. And there was another bit I chopped through as well, which I can't find. It's down there on the floor somewhere. And then made up a single panel which went along the edge. And then all I really need to do now is position that in. I might put some nuts and bolts in there, or I might just clamp it, actually. Clamp it there, because I've got the original spot weld drill holes there as telltales. And then I can weld that down here, up there. And I think getting bloody close indeed, absolutely. Yeah, so once that's welded on, then I can put the box back in. I need to treat, so although I treated this rust up here, I'm not entirely comfortable with it, so I'm going to go over it with a zip wheel before everything goes back together again. I'm quite pleased with that for a repair section. It's all in. Right, so that's done that bit. Just need to concentrate on the side panel now. So I'm more or less going to take a template from the other side. Oops, it's fallen off. Take a template from the other side and mirror it. Because obviously I've got exactly what I need over here. I.e., it looks like that. How about that? I know this one's corroded as well, but there we are. Right. So let me measure it out on a piece of card and see if we can't get something that looks very, very, very good. And we're finally there. Right, okay, so I made up this piece, as I say, mirrored from the other side, tucked it in behind the A-post, and I'll put a few plugs along the top down the front, and I'll weld against the A-post, which I should be able to do fairly easily, and then along the bottom edge. And I've overlapped it so it points downwards, so less likely to get stuff rammed up or moisture captured in there. Obviously it'll all get seam sealed before paint. But yes, I still need to put a drain hole in up here as well, so I will do that, I promise. But first and foremost, we need to weld this bastard in. You naughty little piece of metal, you. That's what's caused all this trouble. Somewhat of a milestone. Yeah, we've got a bulkhead back. Bit of prep and paint, and that'll be finished. The only thing I need to finish on this, I ran out of weld time today, but I need to put that on, and also make up the lip for the inner wing. But bloody hell, that has been somewhat of a weldathon. But I'm quite pleased with the way it's turned out. Once that's painted, that'll look beautiful. Just need to grind the welds back on the outside here, but like I said, run out of grinding, welding, whatever you want to call it, time. And then this lot can go back together again. Bloody hellfire. What a mess.